Welcome to another great episode of the Contractor Business Builder podcast. Most contractors know the feeling. Plans hit the desk, timelines shrink, and your team is stuck grinding through takeoffs while bids slip away. Beam AI changes that dynamic by automating the quantity work so your team can focus on higher value decisions and closing more jobs. So today I'm joined by Shiva Dhawan, a co-founder and CEO of Attentive AI with their software Beam AI, which helps contractors do better takeoffs and quicker. So how are you doing today, Shiva?
I'm doing great, Derek. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Perfect. Yeah, excited to get into this. I think everybody in the contracting world has been waiting for this day when AI can start to handle some of that kind of tedious takeoff and estimating work. So, what was it that made you realize that something needed to change in this side of the construction industry and get started with creating an AI that could handle it?
So, the first time I came across estimators was at a conference in San Diego, where a couple of estimators walked to our booth, and I was working on an AI solution that was not serving estimators. And they came to us and they said that, hey, what you guys are doing with AI and images, if you can apply that to our use case and do takeoffs for us, that'll be really helpful. So that was the first time I had lunch with them. I understood what an estimator does. And I felt that this is hugely flawed because the amount of time that estimators are spending measuring plans and taking off quantities from plans in this day and age is massive, and that shouldn't happen. Like they were wasting weekends just taking off quantities, whereas they should be focusing on increasing more time, spending more time with GCs, spending more time with suppliers, spending more times on actually value engineering the project. And like 90% of their time was going on measuring quantities, which in today's day and age where AI is so prevalent, AI can easily do that. And that's when I realized that nobody is actually focusing on this problem and solving this problem in a focused way. So that's when I conceived the idea of Beam AI and decided to focus on this problem because it has a huge market and it is a huge problem. And clearly, like in the past 2 years with the growth that we've seen, we've succeeded in solving this problem for estimators in the construction industry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, so much time goes into just finding measurements and takeoffs from plans that the information's already there. You just someone needs to measure, right? And typically that's been a more of a manual process in the past. And even with takeoff software, it's still tedious going, measurement by measurement and things like that. So what is the improvement that you see with going towards an AI? Let's say I've got a company, we've got a few estimators. How much more effective is an estimator, or how should they be thinking about that? Like, how is this assisting or improving the company?
Sure. So there are two aspects to it. There is obviously the company aspect, and then there is the human aspect. I'll talk about the company aspect first. So as a company, if you automate your takeoffs using Beam AI, you get the advantage of more bids out of the gate. So our customers have experienced the top of the funnel, which is the number of bids that they send out, increasing by 3 to 4x with Beam AI coming in. Because earlier the estimators simply didn't have enough time to bid on certain projects and they were just leaving those projects, because they didn't have the time to bid on them. So that's the first big benefit for the company. The second big benefit for the company is that we have an AI plus human in the loop solution where the human in the loop verifies the quantities of the takeoffs that we send them. So this leads to higher accuracy of the bid as well. If they do their takeoffs themselves, sometimes they are inaccurate because they simply don't have enough time. And even a 2% error on a $10 million job leads to a 200K loss, which might mean, their whole margin on the project is wiped off. So just summarizing, as a company, this benefits them twofold. One is the number of bids that are getting out of the system, they increase. And second, the accuracy of the bid itself, the accuracy of the estimate, that is spot on. But the biggest benefit that we see is the human aspect of it. Estimators earlier used to spend weekends doing takeoff. They didn't have any work-life balance. They were fed up of their jobs. And as a result, the construction industry was seeing huge churn, especially with the younger estimators who wanted to do something more worthwhile. And that's another thing that we are tackling. We are increasing the happiness index or the job satisfaction of estimators. And that, as a result, is overall benefiting the company as well. Hope that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits and additional things that the company can see from this, and having happy estimators is definitely a bonus for longevity. I know it is a struggle and can be very challenging to find good estimators who are happy doing what they do and can kind of crunch numbers and get in those nitty-gritty details, days on end. So by having an AI assistant to take care of that is definitely important. Now, you mentioned human in the loop. Can you elaborate a little bit about that? Like, how does the human and the AI trade off? Who's double checking? How do we know that things are accurate? Maybe can you
Absolutely.
explain that part of it?
Sure. Absolutely, Derek. So initially, we just built the AI and we gave the estimators an AI-based solution. Now, on some plans, it was very accurate. On some plans, it wasn't accurate. But the estimators didn't know on which plans it was accurate and which plans it wasn't accurate. In fact, a lot of our competitors, which are pure AI softwares, there the estimators were facing the same problem. Hey, how much do I go into the estimate and see how correct that software accuracy is? And that ends up not solving the issue, because again they are spending time on looking at the quantities, looking at the takeoff, whereas we don't want them to spend any time looking at the quantities. So that's where we came up with the human in the loop solution. We said that, hey, if we have quality assurance folks on our end who can do the quality assurance, and the estimator sitting in the construction company can get the final outcome. Derek, we are now living in the outcomes era where people don't want to use software. They just want software to do the entire job. And that's what Beam AI does for them. It gives them the entire takeoff, which is 99.99% accurate. And they don't have to spend a minute looking at the quantities themselves. They directly upload the quantities into the estimate, and bam, the bid is prepared in a few minutes. So that's where it saves a lot of time. More than that, it saves the pain for them to go into the takeoff and looking at the quantities of each and every takeoff.
Yeah, very important point. I think that's kind of one of the fears or uncertainties of contractors using services like this, even before, AI could do it, but even just having an external estimator, there's always that thing in the back of the mind of, did they put 1,000 square feet instead of 10,000 or something like that, right? Or even just small amounts out. Margins are so thin, especially on large commercial projects, that off by a couple percentages can mean a big difference in the profit margin at the end of the job. So yeah, good to hear that you've directly applied, human in the loop to ensure accuracy. And as AI is, it continues to get better. So just as, there may be some accuracy limitations, especially for newer type plans or more complex stuff or whatever, that training will continue to get better, right, into the future and get more and more accurate. Now, as far as
Exactly.
the types of yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add there that we are already seeing that the amount of work that the humans are doing on our end is reducing drastically over time because the AI is becoming much more accurate. But from a customer lens, from a contractor lens, the fact that they know that a human has eyeballed it, they feel much comfortable and they are very sort of satisfied with the results, even if it takes a little more time for them.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what type of contractors do you feel get the best benefits or you like have the easiest time using the AI? Is there certain sizes of company or locations or like trade contractors versus general contractors? Who do you see having the most success with this?
Derek, when I started the company and the product Beam I knew that I wanted to serve all the contractors. And people came and told me, hey, don't boil the ocean or don't go after anyone, everyone, you lose focus. But I was like, hey, everyone wants takeoffs, right? So everyone should be able to get the solution. So right from general contractors, which contributes to about 20% of our revenue, to subcontractors, which includes MEP contractors, concrete and rebar contractors, civil contractors, utility contractors. We have customers across the board. And for some customers, like MEP contractors, we are now also offering a do-it-yourself service, which does not have a human in the loop, because some contractors came to us and they said, hey, I don't want to wait for 2 days with the human in the loop output. If you give me the raw AI output, it's good enough. So for them, for MEP contract serving them a hybrid solution, which has the human in the loop solution, but also the raw AI outputs in case they need it. But just stepping back across the board, from general contractors to subs, we serve all of them because all of them need takeoffs.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. And let's say I've got a contracting company. We've got maybe 1 to 3 estimators. What is what does the implementation look like getting started? What's the process there, and what are the expectations over the first, month or two?
Absolutely. So typically, before we sign the contract, we do two pilots, as in two plans, where we process the pilot and we show the contractor that, hey, this is how the raw output will, like the end output will look like. That typically takes 2 to 3 weeks. After 2 to 3 weeks, we sign the contract, and then comes the onboarding phase where we tell them, okay, now we need to do, we have a rough idea of what you need, but we still need to do more takeoffs for you, at least 5 more takeoffs. And we also want to integrate with whatever estimating software you have. So this typically takes another 3 weeks. So right from the point of the first touch point where somebody books a demo on the Beam AI website or calls us to book a demo, from there you can take roughly 1 month, and Beam AI is live in the company. So it's not a huge implementation cycle at all. It's fairly plug and play, and that's what I tell all contractors, that hey, if you try a new AI software, you might have that initial inertia of how it will work, how it will help my team. But if you just like take it for a test drive, it won't take a lot of time, and you'll quickly get used to it and overcome that initial apprehension or inertia that you might be thinking of before you start it.
That's great. I like how you have customized approach as far as doing specific takeoffs for a company and learning, their needs and what types of projects, plans, et cetera, that they work on and then helping them implement throughout their team. Is there any maybe mistakes or missed thoughts around utilizing a software like this if a company's like a little bit apprehensive, or maybe the owner's on board, but maybe the estimators aren't too thrilled about it? Have you seen anything like that, or any mistakes or pre-planning as far as like on a leadership stage to tell like to bring this into a company?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like some of the initial mistakes that we made were that the owner, or say a VP in the company, really wanted the AI solution, but the estimator was not on board. So they signed the contract, they did everything, but the user, who's the estimator, when they actually started using it, they were not comfortable with it. In fact, some of them feared that, they'll lose their jobs. So that's, I think, the biggest misnomer that I sort of clarify to estimators. And I think all of us should like think about this, because with AI, a lot of people think that, they might lose their jobs. But that's actually not true, because if you look at history of the last 100 years, right, there have been so many innovations. Like when the ATMs came up, like bank tellers thought that they will lose their jobs, but actually the number of jobs in the banks increased because like there was more work that needed to be done, right? So when these digital innovations come, and it's true for AI as well, it's true for Beam AI as well, everyone, and including the estimators, will be able to use it. But the key is to understand the business impact. So, for example, if you have a 100 employee company, right, and you have 100 estimators, everyone, and including the estimators, will be able to use it. But the key is to understand the business impact. should think of it as, hey, now this is making me more productive. It's actually changing the way I used to do work. And that's where some of the insecurities might come in. But if you look at it from a positive lens, that's actually making them do more work, do more bids. And I don't think in the last 2 years, we have 1,200 contractors. And I don't think in the last 2 years, any of the contractors have fired their estimators. In fact, most of them have upskilled themselves from a estimator who was a pure quantity surveyor to now an estimator who's like a pre-con specialist and doing multiple parts of the pre-con value chain instead of just calculating quantities.
Yeah, that's fantastic and good thing to articulate and clarify because that is another kind of fear of AI in general, but in this case, it'd be very applicable to estimators. Is this isn't a full replacement? This is like an assistant, and I think most employees in a company would love to have their own assistant that they could hand off work to and not have to do some of the more like tedious or repetitive type stuff, and AI is great at that kind of stuff, and then as you mentioned, their role can actually expand where instead of having as much time crunching numbers, they can now focus more on pre-construction or supporting the rest of the team, or fulfilling other pockets in the company where good human insight is needed. So that's fantastic. Now, for contractors out there listening and watching, what's the best way to find out more about Beam AI and get a demo?
So for all contractors, you can just log on to our website, www.ibeam.ai, and book a demo from there. And one of our reps will reach out to you and they'll set up a demo with you and go like take you through the entire process. And yeah, it's as simple as that.
Wonderful. So we'll put links in the description. Go click the link. Go check out Beam. Get hooked up with their team there, and stop estimating the old boring way, and get some AI working for you and your business. Thanks so much for coming on today, Shiva.
Thanks, Derek. It was a pleasure.